I don't think there was a time this game where I was like, damn, where's 11? I saw him every fucking play.
And we've been talking about it for a few years, but he's looking like everything about a first-round talent, first-round pick.
When you're heading into playoff time, you want to be playing your best football. Right. Same thing in the NFL. Like playoff time, like they really don't talk about those first like 2 quarters of the season too much. Like if you can get out of that at like 500, then really the third and fourth quarters, the big ones, you turn it on, you start hitting your stride, you start hitting the rhythm, and you carry that momentum into the playoffs.
It still starts with Drew and a quarterback, but it's 2A, Tyler and Drew combined, and then it's just Tyler alone getting in the rock any which way we can. Like you said, we're not shy about it, which we do not need to be. And let's just, like you said, peaking at the right time. Continue to ride the wave. Don't need to force it because we do have other guys that can make plays, but that is the catalyst to our engine.
Quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn
State! Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far?
This segment's brought to you by Family Clothesline. They kept us looking sharp all weekend. I'm currently wearing one of the Lulu Polos. It's a Family Clothesline exclusive. Make sure you guys check out Family Clothesline for all of your Penn State apparel needs.
All right, folks. Here we are. Back again on my favorite part of the week, Sunday nights with my guy B-Bell. We get to chop up post Penn State. Talk a little bit about the national landscape here on this week's episode, because quite frankly, there's a lot to talk about, but not a lot to talk about from this last win. If you catch my drift.
100%. It's always good on a victory Sunday as well. So looking forward to chopping it up, as you said, and talking college football, man, especially Penn State.
No doubt, bro. Before we get to that, let's pay the bills as usual. Got to thank our sponsors of State Media and specifically The Pocket. Got Family Clothesline, always doing it up. B's got a couple hats from Carolina and crew sitting there in the background. Everyone knows Family Clothesline is the premier spot for your Nittany Lion gear. They will make sure you guys are stoked out. Been very, very supportive of the program, so we appreciate them. We also have Z-Bart, your vehicle's best defense. Need anything having to do with your vehicle, detailing, so forth and so on, they got your back. And as always, we're going to bring you guys the Z-Bart Defensive Play of the Week this week. Should be a good one. We got a lot to pick from. There's plenty. Go ahead.
No, yeah, bevy of plays to choose from. Which is
bro, plenty to pick through. And then lastly, make sure you boys and girls out there are enjoying a little Hidden Still blue-white bourbon, supporting NIL efforts while also being able to get your nightcaps post-victory here going. So B's got that in the background as well. They've been great supporters of the program, hoping that we continue to bolster their efforts as well. So Hidden Still and specifically blue-white bourbon, we appreciate you. Yes, with that, B, college football is getting really fun right now. There's a bunch of scenarios. You saw, I watched a Greg McElroy clip talking through the SEC. I think the LSU loss kind of pretty much eliminates all this stuff from happening now and the way some other folks have handled business. But that picture's getting more clear. But there was a crazy 8-team freaking tiebreaker scenario here that was coming out. Big Ten, really I want to focus on those two. You know, the Big 12 with BYU going down hurts. I think it probably opens the door for Colorado, who's been playing really good, potentially in the Big 12 championship game. Someone's going to get a berth from that conference. That's just what it is. ACC kind of playing out goofy too. Miami going down last week, and then you got Clemson squeaking one out against Pitt. Louisville just doesn't seem to want to grab the bull by the horns. So it's kind of, it looks like it could shape out to be a Miami Clemson ACC championship game for a berth there. Yeah. But really the Big Ten now, we're down to the home stretch. Oregon squeaked out. Wisconsin seems to be that they're pretty much on cruise control to the Big Ten championship game, but big one next week with Indiana and the Buckeyes in the shoe.
Man.
Let's recap. Let's recap the whole weekend. I know I just covered a lot. Recap the whole. Let's stay this weekend, and then we can talk about that one a little bit, and then we obviously want to get into our boys. I'm sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained tonight.
No, all good, all good. Long weekend, some good ball, but yeah, man, like you said, a lot of interesting storylines to follow down the stretch. I mean, the biggest one I think to me is LSU getting chopped down by the Gators. I mean, we talk about Coach Napier kind of getting the support at least for another year, and I think the troops rally behind them. They got the young Florida has a young QB Langway, who's doing his deal, and kind of the opposite end, LSU's quarterback, who we were talking pretty highly of. A lot of people were still playing good ball, but definitely not the sharpest right now. And LSU takes a roll, takes a tumble.
Bro, they've been putting the weight of the world on Nussmeier's shoulders, though. I know how that is. I think that cat's thrown it in every significant game they've played in. He's thrown it at least 45 times. It feels like. So that's always tough being in that position.
Never a recipe for success.
So
it's still a good squad, a ton of weapons, but we'll see how they shake out. What else do we have this weekend? Who else did you touch on?
Tennessee. Well, I touched on BYU. Tennessee went down too. Tennessee goes down to Georgia. Georgia does what they do best. Carson Beck kind of pulled it together after a rough 3 weeks.
Yeah, he was in the news. Everybody's talking about him. Draft stock. Same with the Nussmeier kid. Draft stock. But he kind of pulled himself up by the bootstraps. Got a big dub. Tennessee, they came in swinging. And then, like you said, mentioning BYU, that the Colorado point to me is because I'm always tuned into what they got going on. They've been heating up, and maybe not necessarily on a national. I mean, it's possible playoff landscape, but just the Heisman race that everyone's talking about. Not exactly. I feel like the last few years hasn't been the most, highly touted Heisman race like it usually feels. Even with last year. With Jaden Daniels winning it, I feel like for whatever reason, I'm not sure how many people were paying attention to LSU actually and what he did. Great season. Even with this year, we got Travis Hunter in Colorado doing his thing both sides of the ball, and Ashton Genty, and then I think not sure who. I think we got to throw Psycho T in there, Tyler Warren. I know we're homers.
I was just about to say that, dude.
Come on now, you talk about putting team in your back. Like most valuable player, without this guy, where would each team be? And I think all three of those guys kind of fall in that same category. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird. I guess you still have Miami quarterback. I'm not sure with the loss. I'm not sure how much that hurts him. Definitely knocks him off a little bit, but
he still hooped though. He threw for 50 and 4.
Yeah, so he'll be in New York, I imagine. But BYU going down, Colorado playing good ball. The Buckeyes handle business. Kind of getting back to the Big Ten. I was hoping Wisconsin could pull it off. They were throwing haymakers. They were fighting. Yeah, they were scratching and clawing, but as you said, the Ducks, are skating by as the number one team in the country, number one team in the Big Ten, deservedly so. I think I got to give a lot of more credit to Dylan Gabriel than I initially ever did. And the kid's a baller, keeping those guys going, making great plays with his legs and his arm. And that's going to be the difference when it comes down to it. He'll take those guys as far as they can go.
Yeah, no doubt. Wisconsin let go of Phil Longo, their OC, after that game, which is interesting. Saw some stuff going back and forth about that on the interweb and some chatter. It's just side note here. Don't really have to dive into it, but it's going to be interesting to see how Fickle hires, because I always thought Phil was Phil's like an old school air raid guy, and that kind of really doesn't fit Wisconsin's DNA. I always thought that was a unique marriage from the beginning, just trying to have to get the right pieces in there. So it'll be interesting to see who he hires, how he brings it in, what he kind of falls back on. Is there a retraction to, more of a pro style, run the football, toughness up front type of focus as opposed to spread it out, get it going? It'll be interesting to see. But
yeah, definitely was an interesting marriage, like you said. But I'm not sure. obviously execution wasn't there, but what the plays that they did make, I was impressed by Wisconsin. Kind of the change up from the pro style, counter, boot, play action type of offense we're used to. And I think they were attracting some different type of athletes, but at the end of the day, without a true game-changing, program-changing quarterback, it doesn't matter what you put out there. It's going to look a little lackluster.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard.
But
that would have if that had played out differently, that would have put a monkey wrench in a lot of things.
Yeah,
you'd have seen some. I think you'd have seen some ears perk up.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
that's college football, man. Or football in general. Two tails of a coin.
Mm-hmm.
It can go this way or it can go that way, and those two ways are completely different. But Wisconsin, they'll be fine. I think just got to keep scratching and clawing like everybody else.
No doubt. Well, that's some good shit. Some good shit. Back half football season, you got the best teams playing their best ball. You got the teams that are still trying to figure it out. Obviously, still trying to figure it out. So I think that's a perfect segue into recapping this Purdue matchup. Man, 49-10, garbage time touchdown. One's played lights out. I think there's a lot to dissect. Let's maybe start. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball so we get the Z-Bart segment going too, because I want to highlight that. But give me your synopsis defensively, what you saw, what you liked. If there was anything you didn't like, I'm sure it's really hard to do that. I watched the whole thing. I was blown away on the defensive side of the ball.
100%. Them boys were flying around. I know we talked about, I think last week, going out to Purdue can be a little, you can come out. You can get a little slow start. As we've always been talking about. I wouldn't have been surprised if that happened as much as I wouldn't have liked it. But no, they came out complete opposite. Pressure. Bringing it all right out the gate, making it tough for that Purdue offense. And they made some plays, but these guys were flying around. Abdul Carter being numero uno, number 11 out there. He made a statement. I feel like. Boosting draft stock. He was all over the field doing everything. So we'll talk about him in a little bit as well. And he kind of led the pack for me. Jalen Reed and those guys, the safeties still flying downhill, making a ton of plays. And then with the spanking belt to ass that we did, got a lot of young guys in as well. They played pretty well themselves. And I'm always looking at the back end. Definitely a lot of young DB talent to look forward to in the next few years. And I love when they get a chance to get out there. I think Collins, 29, who we heard a lot about this past offseason in the spring, playing more and more. He's going to be a guy in these next 2-3 years who's going to really springboard. He's got crazy athleticism. He had the kind of that tie ball that went to the offense. Unfortunately, he's got to find a way to rip that out a little earlier before they hit the ground. But you just see them insane hops to kind of get around the receiver and kind of get his hands on the ball. That was impressive.
Good ball skills for a DB.
Yeah. And I mean, Purdue obviously is not, in the talks of being a top tier Big Ten team, but we did what we had to do, and we talked about it after the Ohio State loss. Is hey, these next 3 games. Handle them accordingly, but if you making a statement in a certain fashion, it only helps our stakes build up. So the boys on the defensive side did exactly that. I'd love to see maybe some more turnovers, but those things will happen. Figure themselves out for sure.
Bro, I'll echo this. I think that was the best game 11 played, potentially in blue and white. Top to bottom linebacker, DN doesn't matter. It was just I was talking with Jason about this post game. Like when and maybe I'm old school Neanderthal, but like when I'm watching defensive guys, the one thing I always look for, like it's a very simple thing, is like when you're going through a game tape and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, who are the guys who are just high motor guys you really got to worry about?
Threats, yeah.
The takeaway I get is like how many times when ball carrier's tackled is that person within 3 or 4 steps of the ball carrier at all times. I'm talking every single snap they're out there. And like, I think there was times where you would see Abdul like be mad that he missed something in the backfield, and then there was like no pursuit, and someone else would clean it up, whatever. Like, people would kind of just brush that off. But I think to really take that next step as like a dominating player, like an All-American, cement yourself as one of the greatest to ever wear it type of stuff, there's another level to that. And it's most of it has to do with just energy and enthusiasm and motor when it comes to finishing play in series. And I don't think there was a time this game where I was like, damn, where's 11? Like, I saw him every fucking play. I mean, it was crazy. You saw so many plays from the backside that he made on pursuit. And it wasn't just like cowboying, like flying. Like, he's literally sitting there scraping, doing his responsibility, and then catches the quarterback on a quarterback sweep away. Like, just the freaky stuff that he has intangibly, while also marrying it with like sound football, and then bringing in that effort side of it. I thought it was really damn impressive. And against Purdue, great. Like, that's kind of my kudos now. Not challenging him or bitching at him in any way, shape, or form, but like, the more and more he continues to do that throughout this year, the more and more of an impact that's going to make on the rest of the game, I think. So going to definitely need to see some more of that out of him as we start playing the bigger boys. But that's
100%.
a big check mark for me in the column of like buyer of Abdul Carter stock.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not sure if you saw actually, Drew Rosenhaus is with the fam in the crowd. He's looking like, we've been talking about it for a few years, but he's looking like everything about a first round talent, first round pick. And I mean, he did exactly that. I had a coach tell me back in the day, tattoo the field with your name so everyone knows like this is your field. And he did exactly that. Like you said, chasing things down. The motor mixed with talent, mixed with the skill he'll gradually continue to learn at that position, he's going to be a difference maker. I'm thinking to myself watching the game like, man, this dude, if Abdul gets with like a Von Miller, Chuck Smith is like known to, craft pass rush and the best pass rushers. He gets with these guys and really puts in some time. People forget it's still first year transition into this position. So the skill and everything will come along, the control, just a pure arsenal of pass rush moves, which he's putting out there already. I see it. Maybe he doesn't get home every play, and that's never going to be the case, but this kid's going to be special really at any position. And right now, as we know, the edge position pays the big bucks, so he's going to be playing edge. But he can do it all. And like you said, going down the stretch, almost like getting in a rhythm as a quarterback or receiver or any position. Getting that rhythm in this pass rush and really figuring it out, honing in on what moves really work. It's going to be big time when we get to the games that ultimately, make the biggest difference in this playoff stretch that we're gunning for. So, Abdul's been killing it, man.
Yeah, well, while we're on that topic, I think we got a back-to-back Z-Bart defensive play of the game winner in Abdul Carter. Folks, do not forget Z-Bart, your vehicle's best defense. You need anything detailing, taking care of you with one of your biggest investments usually is your vehicle. Make sure you guys are checking out Z-Bart. So with that, B, I'll let you take it away here and run with the Z-Bart defensive play of the game.
Yeah, Hack hit the nail on the head. Chase down plays. This kid was running all over the field. We have Abdul here at the bottom edge. You're going to get a tunnel screen up top to the top receiver. He's on the far hash, dang near by the numbers. He's going to track down this play. It's off a block. And the kid has space, too. If you really look, Penn State has the game handled, but you look, the receiver has a ton of blocking, ton of space. They've got numbers, but no, Abdul Carter is the eraser from the back end. And that closing speed, that's the shit you cannot, the closing speed is the stuff you cannot teach right there. That's a receiver and an edge guy that's much bigger than the receiver, tracking him down. That's first round talent right there if I've ever seen it. So Abdul Carter, back-to-back weeks of the Z-Bart defensive player of the game. Look at this.
Bro, he's in like a plus 9. Like
plus 9, yeah.
Like he's damn near ready to be in pass coverage on the slot and the boundary. That's
Yeah.
so good.
And that's the stuff, when he first hit the scene of, wearing a number 11, obviously you get comparisons, but the pure closing speed and athleticism is what, everyone saw. Was like, okay, Micah, we saw that with Micah, which was different. People ask me like, oh, number 11. I'm like, look, I was good in my own right. I'll always have my confidence, but I did not move like the last two number 11s, Abdul and Micah, clearly. So, these guys just move different, and that's what's going to get them paid.
That will get him paid. And fortunately, Z-Bart pays us. So there's your Z-Bart defensive play of the week. Abdul Carter back-to-back, man. Young fella, keep it up. We are going to need it for the rest of the season. So keep being a catalyst. B, any other points on the defensive side that you want to hit before we kind of shift gears here and jump over to the offensive side of the ball, big picture, and then looking ahead?
I mean, it's honestly nothing truly new. I mean, a lot of people want to say, hey, there's still gashes in the run game, and I'd say we can just solidify that, but it's the tale of two swords, double-edged sword, because you see the tackles for loss we get as well. And it can be somewhat frustrating. You see a big gash of a run game, but then we come right back and it's 2 tackles for loss, and it's 3rd and 15, 14. So, that's kind of how our defense has been. These guys get up the field. There's a lot of speed. There's a lot of carnage. So, besides that, I mean, we can always tackle better, which is going to be, uber important down the stretch with the better teams and athletes. So that's really about it, man. Hone in on truly the basics. The same things you start training camp with are the same things that are going to win you games at the end of the season. So, but I trust in these guys and I'm looking forward to it. So once again, another stellar game defensively.
Yep. I can echo that, man. I think they're peaking at the right time on that side of the ball. And then similarly, like just transitioning out of the offensive side, we're talked a lot about just overanalyzing that Ohio State loss and then how are they going to respond. And we talked about that heading into the Washington game. And really, I said this, I think that's going to be my theme for the rest of the year, right? You had at that point in time 4 opponents that you are better than on paper.
Yeah.
And the conversation kind of started last week about strength of schedule, right? And I thought with this whole playoff expansion that the strength of schedule conversation would become a little bit of a less hot button topic, but we as analyzers of the sport can't seem to help ourselves. And, that came up, who has Penn State played? Who has Texas played? And da-da-da-da-da. And you keep going back and forth. And it's just like, listen, guys, like at the end of the day, what you have to do is, I think anybody beyond 12 has no real seat at the table. I think who the 12 best teams are, no matter what. And the whole like college football math of like, well, these guys beat these guys and these guys lost to these guys. So that means that these guys are better than those guys. It's like, bro, like you can't like the disbursement of talent any longer in college football. It's getting much more like the NFL in my eyes, where, the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league on any Sunday. Same thing, I think, in college football now. And it's like, maybe it wasn't as much that case when you had certain programs kind of packing together talent and like depth, but guys want to play, so they're going to go and play. They don't really give a shit anymore. They're going to chase the check and they're going to try to get the game tape. So I say all this in a long-winded way to say that Penn State needed to win these games in the fashion that we have up until this point. It just solidifies. You start to forget more and more about that Bowling Green one, which was a little bit of a pillow fight. But really, you got to segmentize that into like 2 parts of the season, right? Like when you're heading into playoff time, you want to be playing your best football. Right. Same thing in the NFL. Like playoff time, like they really don't talk about those first like 2 quarters of the season too much. Like if you can get out of that at like 500, then really the 3rd and 4th quarters, the big ones, you turn it on, you start hitting your stride, you start hitting the rhythm on both sides of the ball, and then you start stringing together wins and you carry that momentum into the playoffs. I think it's going to be a same type of thing here with college football with this expansion. And I think Penn State's putting themselves in a really good position. And offensively, being able to bounce back, from it wasn't an inept performance, but it was just, you saw some of the issues that we've talked about that do exist within our infrastructure as it pertains to personnel kind of rear their heads. We were able to overcome it in a little bit of ways, and we need some guys to continue to overcome it even more so to win that game.
About the occasion, man.
Yeah, but I mean, still, now you have a chance to really start building more and more confidence, start taking more shots, start doing more things. And, listen, I thought Drew played unbelievable. Both quarterbacks, I think, missed one throw apiece. You got drops in there. I know Bo had 2 drops that were both touchdowns. They both ran the ball well. They both commanded the offense well. And then, like you said at the beginning of this, Tyler Warren, the fact that he's not in like everybody's Heisman top 4 is like 4 or 5 is nuts to me. Like I can't remember another time. And I'd even argue with Brock Bowers. Like I don't even think Georgia highlighted him as much as we do Tyler Warren, where your tight end, if he gets 45 to 50 snaps a game, is touching the ball 40% of the time, if not upwards of 50% of the time. It's crazy. And we need it because he's that dynamic of a player. The kid led us in rushing and receiving for the second time this year. Fucking tight end.
Yeah, what a 50-yard plus run, or 50-yard plus run for 6.
Yeah,
I mean, I said it last week, just as we kind of transition to the offense. That is our identity on at least the offensive side of the field. It still starts with Drew and a quarterback, but 2A is Tyler and Drew combined, and then it's just Tyler alone getting in the rock any which way we can, like you said. And then, somewhere around there, it's the running backs and still getting that ground game going. But it's Tyler Warren, man. I feel like now we're not shy about it, which we do not need to be. And let's just, like you said, peaking at the right time, continue to ride the wave. Don't need to force it because we do have other guys that can make plays, but that is the catalyst to our engine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, just talking about this win, I mean, it felt like in the passing game they were playing 7-on-7. Again, 8 of them went to Tyler Warren. Yeah. A bunch of others went to the backs, and you had Trey Wallace get involved there a little bit, some other guys. But you're going to need some more production out of your receivers. You're going to need to scheme some things up to put them in positions to make plays, and I think they will when the lights come on again, because there's really no going back. There's no next week at that point in time. So you're really going to have to sell out and just burn the ships and figure it out. But just in terms of building confidence, I thought it was a great start. Or a great second step. And now, heading into Minnesota next week, going to be cold as balls. That team is I kind of categorize them as like a step up from they're like an old school Iowa. Like they're at that point in the program where they're going to be good. They're going to be coached well. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to have a great attitude coming into the game. They're not going to be scared. Yeah. And they're a little bit more dangerous than, say, a Purdue. Like I even think if Purdue played really, really well, this is still a 3-score game. Even if Purdue played really, really well. Right. I don't necessarily think that's the case with Minnesota, but anyway, I think for Penn State's sake, you need to continue to stack these wins in the manner in which you're doing them, because it goes back to that conversation I was saying about optics and strength of schedule and all that stuff. People forget about that other bullshit if you just handle business the way you're supposed to handle business. And you're ultimately going to get another chance because you can't really control the schedule, right? Yeah. Like the schedule, these things are set years in advance. Like you just go ball, go hoop, go do what you got to do and put the best product on the field. And at the end of the day, let the chips fall where they may. And I think this team, the last 2 weeks, we talked about starting fast and all this other shit. They've started fast. They've played complete games. They've looked extremely focused. The one thing I even noticed more so, and this is a point that maybe you want to elaborate on here after I make it, is like Coach Franklin, man, like the whole game, his antics on the sidelines, like bullshit. Dom DeLuca in the third or fourth quarter is running out late on a punt, the third punt of the game. And like he's going nuts. It's just holding everybody to a higher standard where like this isn't like fuck off time. Like this is expected. This is what we got to do. We expect to come in here and do this. And then everybody's also expected to have the attention to detail throughout the entirety of the game to handle business. And I thought it was a slightly different tone and a slightly different outward physical antics from Coach surrounding that attention to detail.
Yeah. No, yeah, which is 100% needed. I mean, like you said, great bounce back after the slip up with Ohio State, but it's almost, I think of, the term, I'm probably going to butcher it, but like, don't get bored with consistency. Just because, hey, we're putting it on this team and this is only the second punt, we got to be locked in all 4 quarters. That's the mindset that we talk about going into these games, big game, huge game, little small game, whatever it is, lesser opponent, top ranked opponent. That's the mindset you have to be and to be, to reach that elite status we always want to talk about, right? And that it's going to take that level because, like you said, going into a Minnesota who's going to be prepared, it's going to be, fearless. We talked about the parity of college football. You cannot slip up a second. So you got to have that attention to detail all 4 quarters throughout the week at practice, so you can get off the plane and step on the field. You're ready, locked and loaded, ready to go, ready to start fast and finish strong. So, I appreciate that. We talk about what we need to eclipse, what everyone talks about every year, the big games, and it ultimately feels like that's what it comes down to. It's just that mindset of being 100% on top of everything, sharp, sharpening your blade and getting out there ready to fight. So that's what we're gonna need. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a goofy hurdle, man. It's like one of those things where you have to believe, but then the common sense side of you is like, well, we haven't done it, so how do I believe? And it's that weird thing because at the end of the day, like even the teams that have done it and are rolling at some point in time in their development to get into that point had to make that decision of, are we all in, and kind of like that leap of faith, you know what I mean? Because at one point in time, Ohio State wasn't beating everyone's ass.
Nope.
Alabama wasn't beating everybody's ass, but then there was like a switch that flipped and they did it once and then it just snowballed into something that is now the standard. So it's hard. And it'd be an interesting study to go back and see how long that took with some of these teams. Just
really
like how long it took.
That's the psyche of athletics we've been through. Still probably go through our normal lives, obviously transitioning off the field. But like, I saw a podcast Braxton Miller was talking about kind of what Urban Meyer brought to the Buckeyes, and it was exactly that. Of just like, it's not going to be anything else but belt to ass when we go on the field. And it starts with the type of preparation and the winter work and everything that's not on the field on Saturdays goes into building up the psyche of it's not going to be anything else but pure dominance. I'm not, no, they're not better than us because of X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. But it is a very interesting study because that's all it really takes. Kind of goes into that confidence thing. But with the confidence, you have to, back it up with the work and with the coaching and with the building your own skill and everything like that. So it is very interesting. And when you're older like us now, looking back, it's like you see it, but it's different for the kids and the younger guys and coming out of high school, and now there's money involved, so it's a lot. But ultimately, all it is like you said, that switch to believe I can do whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's so funny, and it's like hard to verbalize too. So if you guys listening here are like these guys make no fucking sense, I totally because it is really hard to verbalize. It's just like one of those things like you have to, I guess, kind of experience, and it's weird. Like it's hard. It's hard to put a finger on it exactly. Like I don't think there's any clear like by the book thing. Right?
I mean, I've always said it with the Big Ten championship year. I give all the credit. As far as getting our mind in that headspace to Naeem, our guy Naeem Wardman, because like you said, if you've never done it before, you've never thought whatever way before, it's just not natural to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go be a champion today.
Yeah.
Obviously everyone's working hard, but, we were coming off, we were at successful seasons, but, we weren't 10-plus win seasons at the time yet. And Naeem, I never forget it in the summer workouts, guys are kind of bitching, complaining about something. I remember Big Deej had us redo like a whole Gasser thing, and guys are complaining, and Naeem kind of said it like, look, if we want to win a national champ or a Big Ten championship, let's talk about it. This got to be the standard. We can't have guys complaining about doing an extra gasser if this is where we're trying to be. So everything has to align to the goals that we make. And let's talk about those goals. Let's not hide them in the shadows and tiptoe around them. No, if this is what we want, let's talk about it. Let's go get it. Let's work for it. And that flipped the psyche, just to, I mean, it sounds corny, but if you believe it, you can achieve it type of deal, because that's half the battle.
No doubt. That's a good ass fucking story. I love that shit. That's good stuff.
I'll deny. I actually don't. I remember that shit so vividly. Hot summer day, working out on the turf, so it's a little hotter.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We had to do, Deej counted up the gassers we had to do at the end of practice. Someone didn't touch the line, and he's like, "We got another 5." And, guys are falling to the ground. Oh, F this, man. Come on, dog. This is BS.
The old feint. The old
Oh.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and I remember, ultimately we did them anyway. We did the gassers, and you suck it up and you do it. But and later on, it's like, yo, we can't have this, especially not from the older, senior guys who are going to play, who are going to be major contributors. So, but that's the leadership you need to kind of whip everybody, even the guys that, are leaders themselves, to kind of, get their minds right.
Yeah, whip them in the line.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, so let's go final wrap up on this Purdue game, man. Like, final words, final 3 takeaways, and then we'll jump into some Minnesota and path ahead here, and then wrap this puppy up.
Yeah. Hey, handle business, man. That's what we did. That's what we need to continue to do. Same regiment. Moving on to the next week. That's behind us. Belt to ass. I love it. Now, once again, let's not get bored with consistency. Let's go do it again. On the road, need to have that business mindset. Like you said, going to be cold, late November, Minnesota. They're not going to be scared. So let's go handle business again. And we play our caliber of football. The results will yield, the same way.
Love it. Yeah, I think continuing to raise the floor. I love that phrase, don't get bored with consistency. I think being able to create momentum when it's not apparent, meaning they don't have a chance to go and beat an Ohio State or a Michigan, that is really like energizing. It's monotonous, consistent work right now. You're chopping wood and carrying water.
Yep.
And like I said, that's almost sometimes harder than doing it the other way, right? So big kudos to the program right now. Big kudos to the leaders in that locker room.
And that's kind of what I saw with Abdul this game. I know we talked about him a lot already, but like you said, that same motor and tenacity and hypeness making the play against a Purdue that's not an Ohio State, but nonetheless, it's adding gas to the fire of the team, to yourself, and it's all it's all going to pay off and keep it going.
Right. That's good. All right. So these boys are heading up to Minnesota, this weekend.
Do you remember that 2014 game we went up there? Coldest game of my life.
No, it was 2013. It was our freshman year.
That was freshman year? Yeah, it was freshman year.
I met my wife after that game.
Oh, did you really? You went to? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Yeah, that was the coldest game of my life. Oh, my gosh.
Brutally cold.
Well, because I was, like you said, it was freshman year. 'Cause I was just starting to play special teams. So I was getting like 10 snaps a game. So you can't just be cold on the sideline because you got to get ready to run. And I remember literally everyone's by the heaters in the corner of the sideline. And shout out to Fitz, Greg Fitzgerald, old Coach Fitz, strength coach. He's out there T-shirt and shorts, hard as brass knuckles, tough dude. Snap, get the fuck up. What the fuck are y'all doing? Everyone get off the heater. Stop acting like little bit,
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was cold. I remember having to warm up, run down on kickoff, and go sit on the sideline again.
Yeah, and try to stay warm. I'll tell you this, funny little story here. Ty Howe, now the tight ends coach at Penn State, was my center. Our center, my center. I don't know how I say that. I'm not sound egotistical. My center. He was my fucking center.
I mean, my hands weren't under his ass. So.
Yeah. Well, Ty liked to piss himself. He didn't like to go to the bathroom, so he pissed himself that game. But there was no chance of him sweating at all. And he, the white pants. He had a Gatorade lemon lime flavored stain down his leg.
Man. The pearly whites can't hide it.
Froze so quick. It froze. It instantly froze. Like it was just like. And I was just like, this is – I remember it so vividly. I go down there like it was the second series of the game because usually it was like he got all amped up and then he's like, I'm not going to the bathroom and getting – and I get it, dude. Big guys, getting that belt on and doing all that shit. Like I wouldn't want to have to go through that either. Yeah, man, because I would usually like just squirt him down with a water bottle. Like what he would tell me. But like at that point in time, like squirting him down with a water bottle was like going to kill him. So I'm like, I can't do this to him. So, I had to thug that one out. But that was a brutally cold game. And I expect a little bit of that for these boys this week, potentially. Something that could play a factor. PJ Fleck's going to have them ready to go. The last time that I think us as a program went up there was Cliff, and they actually got us. We were really, really highly ranked. They were also a little bit more equipped in terms of personnel and stuff like that. That year, I think it was Tanner Morgan was the quarterback. They had 2 or 3 really good receivers.
Yeah, they had a Baltimore kid. What's his name?
Yeah, and they had the running back.
Mohammed Ibrahim. Yep, 24.
Really good player. Couple guys that got drafted
on the defensive
line. But I say all this to say, I think it's going to be a little bit of a better team than Washington and Purdue. Different environment. So I think it's a great test, right? I think we're going to go into this. Like I said, you have to continue to raise our floor, have the expectation. And again, optics playing into this whole thing, especially with seeding and kind of letting all these other teams kind of fall off how they have. You know what I mean? I think you're going to have some teams that are surprises. We're like, they really weren't a thought 3 weeks ago and this and that. But then if you just stay consistent as Penn State, like, listen, we lost to Ohio State. It was a matter of 4 key moments in that game, and we failed miserably. However, we went ahead and then corrected every single one with the next 4 opportunities we had, and we did it in a manner in which left no doubt. There was no doubt in any capacity in any part of that game, and we're now ready and poised for this next opportunity. I think that's a completely different mindset than losing one, then kind of getting in a pillow fight with somebody and then like limping into it. I really think that this team has a very unique opportunity to take the road less traveled heading into the playoffs and hopefully a first round home game. We've passed every single test. We've done it our way. We've stayed healthy. We've put a different product on the field. We've raised the floor. We're ready for this moment. And then you got to see then you got to see if they really are. But you can only do what you can do with the opportunity at hand. And I think this is a good one because I think it's a little bit of a tougher test. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes into it. 3:30 kick up there. Let's go see if we can handle business. But I'm excited for this one because I do got a lot of respect for PJ.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, those boys will be ready.
Yeah.
Once again, target still in our back, highly ranked. Penn State at the end of the day always. So they're gunning for your heads. Get your armor ready this week. Sharpen the tools, sharpen the swords, and let's get ready for battle, man. Should be a good one.
Yeah, a lot of the same. It's tough when you win the way that we talk about them needing to win. It's tough to really start picking things apart.
Yeah.
Just proud of where they're at. Proud of the way they picked themselves up after that Ohio State game with all the noise, and I think they're doing a really good job of managing it. So. Got to go handle the Gophers. It is officially Gopher season, and hopefully Bill Murray's in attendance from Caddyshack with his bucket hat on, his boonie ready to go. Sticks of dynamite. Let's go handle business.
Blow a Gopher up, man.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. All right, B. Well, I appreciate you chopping it up with me. Handle business with Purdue. Got Minnesota next. Then Maryland at home. Senior night.
I like
be a
that
good
a
one.
lot.
So, but I think we can end this by saying where we are right now, we're in a really good position. I think mentally they're in a good spot. I'm very comfortable and confident in the way that they're going about their business right now. So let's go get it done.
Yes,
So get it done.
I did have one mailbag hit me up or us up on
Let's
Twitter.
do it. Let's do it. Oh yeah, and speaking of that, fucking A, dude. Hold us to the fire here. We're getting one out next week. I said it last week. We're getting one out this week. That's just I'm done with it. We're doing it. Even if we got to do it Wednesday, it'll just stay open.
Right.
Yeah. I'll
we
retweet
can
it on
do
Saturday.
Well, we'll kick this one off. Shout out to Donnie, a.k.a. at Don Runyon, mailbag. He asks or says, is the key to landing top receivers simply NIL at this point? Isaiah Bond left Bama for Texas. Jordan Addison a few years ago, Pitt to USC. Is the key just landing older, more developed players from other Power 5 teams instead of high school guys? I'll kick it off. I mean, we might have touched on this a little bit. I mean, at this point, it's a combination. Yes, NIL, if landed right, can upgrade a position room for sure with a guy with experience that you're not necessarily as many question marks as a high school kid. But on the tail end, recruiting is still recruiting and it's very much necessary. I mean, you see teams like Ohio State. I mean, Bama, obviously the 2 top freshman guys, but, those are homegrown, not transfer guys that immediately impacted your team. So you can still do it in recruiting and, if necessary, needed to be done NIL as well. Obviously, the NIL is a little more tricky with the dollar signs and the number, and truly free agency is what it seems like. So just like college, I guess, still a bidding war, but I feel like it takes both. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think NIL's not going anywhere, so everyone needs to figure out if we're going to make this a specific Penn State thing, how we can continue to make it better, how we can continue to stack it up, how we can continue to do things the right way, but also make sure we're keeping up with the Joneses, period.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think you make a great point. There's something to homegrown. I think Coach Franklin's done a really good job of that all the way around. I mean, look at our best players right now, all homegrown. They all came here ready to go, continuing to build. That's a very vital thing. And I think when you do go in the portal, you can't swing and miss.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can't swing and miss. If you're gonna pay a lot of money for somebody in the portal, that decision is going to be magnified and judged, and it can't be a whiff. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely multiple ways to skin that cat, and there's probably a little bit of a culture fit when you're in the portal that goes into that. Thinking about is this guy gonna disrupt the mojo with our homegrown guys that then leads to another issue and all of a sudden you got a fucking forest fire internally that you're trying to tamper down. You just got to be careful. But I do think that all of those elements are playing a major factor in ultimately being able to get the right type of talent at that position at home at Penn State. I know Marcus Hagen's really, really well, the receiver coach. Biscuits know me since I was really little. I really like his temperament. I like how he evaluates talent. I think he walked into a room that's had so much turnover and then also is a little bit fragile mentally just from how much heat they've taken over the past few years. So I think really allowing him to get his grips on everything and establish a certain type of mentality in that room specifically is going to be really important. So hoping that he gets to stick around, gets a chance to do that, and at least put his best foot forward from that standpoint, because that's also really important at that position too. We talk about confidence all the time, confidence and ability to play almost outside of your means because you're so confident in your capability where you feel that everybody's behind you. That's really important too. So, but I think we'll get there. I know this place seems to always persevere, and it really has nothing to do with coaches or anything like that. It's kind of a weird thing with the chipmunk logo or whatever it is, but it always does seem to persevere. And I know that they're going to get that right. And I know the guys we got right now are going to continue to play their ass off and try to continue to get better and raise the floor as well. I think we've seen that too. I think it's unfair to overly criticize without also giving roses where roses are due. And I think in certain ways they've definitely gotten more consistent and more reliable. And it's a process. So we'll see how it shakes out. But that's a great question, and I'm happy you brought that up because I did see that too, and I was going to brush over it. So, B-Bell, thanks for holding me Thanks for holding me to a higher standard, brother.
See, that's what teammates are for.
My guy.
No, yeah, we'll get the mailbag going for sure. So, thank you guys.
Yep. So that's another episode of Pocket. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you're following on all of our socials at State Media PSU. Follow B and me personally. Something on X or Instagram. You can figure those out. Probably just throw our names out there. It'll pop up. And we will be back next Sunday, fired up with an open mailbag, ready to go. So
yes, sir.
We are, baby, and we'll catch up with you guys next week.
Peace.